to my channel. I'm Alexa and this is Dash. Today we're making mummy brownies. I measured out all my ingredients and I recommend that you do so too. You can find a full list of ingredients and measurements in the link in the description. Remember to watch the video first so you can be prepared.
First, I'm going to put my melted butter on low on the stove and add in the chocolate chips. I'm going to whisk this until they're melted. After the chocolate chips are all melted into the butter, I'm going to turn off the burner and add in the cocoa powder. I'm going to whisk this until it's completely mixed in. Now I'm going to sift my flour and baking soda. This is to make sure there are no clumps. If you don't have a sifter, you can use a wire whisk or a fork. When you're sifting, you can push the ingredients through using a rubber spatula or a spoon, or you can tap the sides of it with your hands. If your sifter has a stand, you should tap the sides of your sifter after it looks like all the ingredients have fallen through to make sure no ingredients are stuck. Today I'm not using a sifter with a stand, so I don't need to do this step. Next, I'm going to put the eggs into my mixing bowl and whisk them until they're scrambled. This will help them mix into my other ingredients. Then I'm going to add in the oil, vanilla extract, brown sugar, and granulated sugar. I'm going to mix this until they're fully mixed in. Now I'm going to add in the butter mixture from before. I'm using a rubber spatula to get all of it into my mixing bowl. I'm going to whisk this until it's evenly combined. Next, I'm going to add in my sifted dry ingredients from before and mix them in. It is very important to make sure these are entirely mixed in, so scrape down your bowl with your rubber spatula to make sure no ingredients are stuck to the sides or bottom of your bowl, but try not to overmix it. My batter looks great, so let's move on to the next step. Next, I'm going to put my batter into my baking pan lined with parchment paper. I secured the parchment paper with binder clips so it stays in place when I pour in my batter. Just make sure you remove them before you put it into the oven. I'm guiding the batter into the baking pan using my rubber spatula. Make sure all the batter enters the baking pan. Then I'm going to smooth out the batter using my rubber spatula to make sure the brownies will cook evenly. Now I'm going to put the brownies into the oven. My oven's preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. My brownies took 27 minutes to bake. I started checking my brownies at 20 minutes and continued every few minutes. When they're done, if you put a toothpick or cake tester into it, it'll come out with some crumbs but not wet batter. Put them onto a cooling rack to cool. After the brownie has cooled, I'm going to cut the edges off so the brownies will all look the same. You don't need to do this if you don't want to, but I find the brownies look prettier that way. Next, I'm going to cut the brownies into small rectangles. To do this, I'm using a ruler to mark the thickness I want, and then I'm cutting it with a long, straight-edged knife. This will make the brownies come out cleaner and more straight. I made these 1.5 inches by 2 inches. Using my ruler, I'm once again measuring so all the brownies are the same size, and then I'm cutting them with the same knife. If your knife becomes covered in brownie, carefully wipe off the blade with a napkin. It'll give you nicer looking brownies if the blade is clean. Now I'm going to start on the vanilla frosting. To do this, I'm going to first sift my powdered sugar. This is a very important step because if you don't do this, your frosting will be full of powdered sugar clumps. Next, I'm going to cream my butter. It is important to get the butter to be as soft and creamy as possible without being melted because this will make the frosting the perfect texture. Therefore, I'm going to mix this for about 5 minutes and scrape down the bowl whenever the butter looks like it's sticking to the side of it. The butter looks great now, so I'm going to add in the powdered sugar. I'm going to mix this until the powdered sugar is as mixed in as possible. It probably does not look very mixed in because of the lack of liquid, but that's normal. Then I'm going to add in milk, a half a tablespoon at a time. It's important to do this very gradually, even if the frosting still looks too thick, because it can quickly go from being too thick to being too thin. It should be able to hold up its shape, but still be spreadable. I used 3.5 tablespoons of milk to get to this consistency, but it'll likely take a different amount for each person each time, depending on the climate inside the house and how soft your butter was. going to put the frosting into my piping bag. To do this, I put the piping bag into a jar and I'm using a rubber spatula to push the frosting into the bag. After I do that, I'm going to push the frosting down into the point of the bag using my hands. Then I'm going to cut approximately 1/4 of an inch off of the point of the bag. I'm going to twirl the top of the bag and make it airtight, putting pressure on the frosting to press it down so we'll be able to make an even swirl. Now I'm going to decorate the brownies. To do this, I'm going to first put a dot of frosting onto the eyes and place them onto the brownie. Then I'm going to pipe the frosting on in zigzags to make them look like mummy gauze. If your frosting seems too thick to do the lines, you can take it out of the piping bag and put it back in your mixer, adding in a tiny bit of milk at a time until it becomes smooth enough to pipe out. And my mummy brownies are done and looking delicious. Please let me know what you thought of the video in the comments and how the recipe went for you. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you can see when new videos are added. Thank you and happy early Halloween!